Good afternoon. I know folks are making their way to their seat, but I love starting on time. You've heard me say that I was raised by two parents who both worked in secondary education, and the standard in the Bruess family was to beat the first bell, not the second bell. Okay. Anyway, it's 12:59. It is such a privilege to welcome you to the BAC and the 2024-25 academic year. This past spring, Carol and I launched a new tradition. Inspired by something similar, President Mary Hinton began during her tenure to offer Renner House as an option for students on study day. We opened the house from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., and dozens of Bennies and Johnnies rotated in and out in 4-hour blocks. Who knew that Renner is a hot ticket? There were just a few rules. This was for studying, not socializing or watching Netflix. Hospitality was flowing. Students were encouraged to help themselves to cold brew coffee, snacks, and sandwiches set up on the first floor and garden level. That's the basement. Carol baked hot cookies, my late grandma Madonna's recipe. And George, the therapy dog, provided regular therapy to the studiers. The entire experience for Carol, for George, and for me was precious. One student said that she heard the clinking of dishes and mundane sounds of life being lived, and it made her feel comforted, like she was at home. In the late afternoon, a student showed up and stealthily dropped a small gift bag at the front door. The student did not knock, and I'm told that the security cameras documented the fact gift bag was dropped, no knock. In that gift bag was this hat. Pretty impressive, huh? The note that came with the gift bag said, "You may not remember, but you found interest in this hat on move-in day. So I thought I'd get one for you to keep. Thank you for also being a great leader who made me feel at home from the start." Signed, actually it was not signed. Who is this Johnny first year taking time to express his gratitude? We've still not figured out his name, so if you see a student with this hat, tell him the president wants to know who he is. Carol and I vividly remember the move-in day conversation about his hat. As we were meeting students and families on both campuses, we greeted him and his family, and I recall saying, "Cool hat." A few days later, during orientation, I saw him again. He had the hat on. I gave him a second affirmation, a little thumbs up, and gestured to the hat. 9 months later, this young man writes a thank you note and goes out of his way to drop it off at Renner House. To me, it tells us one thing. Students do, in fact, appreciate and need our little gestures of welcoming and belonging. And some students need some coaching on signing their names to a card. In fact, we all, faculty, staff, monastics, students, we all need and want the small acts of connection, of being seen by each other, of feeling welcome in these places. We all have that same basic human need to feel valued. As we begin this new academic year, I'd like to welcome each of you and each and every one of you in the spirit of connection and belonging, a signature of St. Ben's and St. John's. And if you know me, there's nothing I love more than the excitement of reconvening a college community. And this year, my dominant feeling is one of abundant hope. Our missions, educating students in our Benedictine Catholic liberal arts residential context. You and your work, our students and their commitment to education, it all translates to abundant hope for what is possible. Together, we are flourishing. Together, with our collective talents and gifts, we are poised for so much goodness. Simultaneously, the world feels divided and chaotic. Culture wars, literal wars, political rancor, divisiveness, the intense election season that is upon us, the stressors in higher education, the climate crisis. These are realities affecting all of us, especially our students, creating an undertow of uncertainty and fear. And yet, here we are with a unique gift, two beautiful communities rooted in the profound Benedictine tradition, rich in love and giving us a compass for how to show up for each other and our students in the micro moments of life, for how to listen, encourage, support, and nurture, and accompany each other, for how to overcome, to learn, to adapt, yet remain stable in this place. Dare I say, we at St. Ben's and St. John's, we know how to love. And it is our core call to love each other without distinction or exception that we must lean into even more fervently as we navigate the current realities both locally and globally. For our students, belonging is ever more core to their experience and flourishing. They've been through COVID lockdowns and aren't immune, even on these two very hospitable residential campuses, to an epidemic of loneliness and isolation. Perhaps you've read Dr. Jonathan Haidt's recent book, The Anxious Generation. In it, he makes a compelling case for how smartphones have rewired an entire generation of kids. Many of those kids are now young adults, the students on our campuses. Because so many of our students experience heightened anxiety and stress, they are more often in what Dr. Haidt calls defend mode. For students to flourish, we need them in discover mode, willing to try new things, test out new ideas, explore new relationships and conversations and ideas that challenge their assumptions and push them out of their otherwise comfort zone. In many ways, discover mode makes me think about what Aristotle meant when he talked about living the good life. Aristotle believed that true human flourishing occurs when we engage in activities that fulfill our highest potential, when we contribute to the greater good and align our actions with our deeper values. Isn't that our ultimate purpose here at St. Ben's and St. John's? To help each member of our community, students and all of us, lead a life of purpose, integrity, and fulfillment in service to something greater than ourselves. I believe it is. And I know that as two liberal arts, Catholic, Benedict, and residential colleges founded to help students grow in mind, body, and spirit, guiding students, and all of us doing this work to develop, learn, become, to discover, to embrace difference, to think deeply, engage globally, serve graciously, and live courageously. We have never been more poised to realize our missions, to confront the challenges we face, and to matter for the world, present and future, especially for our students and each other. And we can't do it without the gifts of each of you. Each staff and faculty member, each student, all of you, your work matters. How you engage with each other and our students, it matters. All the careful and painstaking effort to shape courses, to teach creatively, to coach, to advise, to mentor, to clean, to mow. And we've done a lot of mowing this summer. To keep our buildings cool and warm, to recruit students, to feed students, to hold them accountable if they happen to step out of our behavioral expectations, to grade papers. That's hard work. I'm so glad I don't have to grade papers. Here's to all the paper grading. I don't know, that just seems like grueling work, so kudos to all the faculty that do the grading. To generate and to account for revenue, to manage expenses, to repair old buildings, to do the often thankless work of committees and faculty or staff governance. All of this work, each and every one of you and all this work, it matters. And each of your gifts and talents will be needed as we continue to implement our strategic plan. You knew it. I could not resist talking about the strategic plan. Let me try that again. The strategic plan, something that sets my heart ablaze. Moving forward together, our strategic plan. What I want to do with the remainder of my time is to share some of the significant progress we've made over the past year and foreshadow just a bit of what is next. These updates are not just milestones on a strategic roadmap. They are a testament to our collective resilience, creativity, and unwavering commitment to our missions. They reveal how we are embracing change, innovating, and moving forward together despite the vast challenges and uncertainty. I only have a small amount of time to offer a sampling, so know that there is much more to share and to know and to engage with as it relates to the strategic plan. But let me begin by offering much gratitude to all those who are leading the many strategic initiatives, including Kara and Richard, who are facilitating the process, the leadership team members, faculty, staff, casts of hundreds who are actively engaged in the work of planning for and shaping our future. Enrollment update is everyone's work is enrollment. I cannot stress that enough. And so thanks to our entire community, thanks to all of you, we are making progress toward our long-term enrollment goals. Our total undergraduate student enrollment will exceed 2,800 this year, just over 1,400 students at both St. Ben's and St. John's, while holding the discount rate steady and meeting our net tuition revenue expectations for the first-year class. We will be short between 50 and 60 new students when you consider first-year and transfer and international combined for both campuses. A huge congratulations to all of you, literally all of you, especially those focused specifically on our retention efforts, which really is everyone, but a shout out to John Andrick and all those who are working with him on retention, as this year our combined first-year retention rate is 87.1%. That's about where it was last year for St. Ben's, but it's a several percentage point bump for St. John's students. So kudos to everyone for making that happen. That kind of a move and that kind of stability with retention is really the best example I can give you of everyone's work. For continuing students, St. Ben's is about 18 short of our projection, and St. John's is 3 students favorable to budget on returning students. We are also expecting another strong SOT and seminary enrollment with over 150 students enrolled in SOT, and if that holds, it'll be the largest since 2004. We also have a wonderful graduate nursing enrollment to include about 40 graduate students in nursing, for a total of 190 graduate students. This all combined gives us a grand total of 3,002 students as of last Friday. Hang on to those 2 students. Overall, we expect to be between 50 and 75 students short of our total goal. We are already working to navigate how to manage that from a budget perspective. But overall, our financial position remains strong and our strategy continues to show progress. Dr. Kara Kolmes, our Chief Operating Officer, and Ann Oberman, our CFO, ×2, are offering a concurrent session today. If you'd like to learn more on financial matters, I encourage you to attend that session. I am also delighted to share with you that Ed Lamb will join us early next month as our new Senior Enrollment Officer. Ed will continue to hone our strategic enrollment plan with a focus on our digital recruitment marketing, a multi-pronged approach to address access and affordability, an increasingly more accelerated challenge as we face the challenges in Minnesota, but also nationally with the FAFSA and the Minnesota State Grant, and also working with academic and marketing partners to complete an analysis of our market position. Recruiting for next fall's class is well underway. We anticipate undergraduate class sizes next year to be between 375 and 400. Remember, our goal is to get both first-year classes over 400. Master facilities planning is a complex and critical part of the strategic plan initiative and has us, for the first time, shaping a joint facilities strategic plan. This groundbreaking initiative establishes a flexible process to produce capital planning recommendations on critical institutional success drivers. Russ Klein, Director of Physical Plant, and Miranda Wetland, CSB Controller, are leading this critical effort. A session on space planning is being offered this afternoon. I am really thrilled about all these projects, but I'm particularly thrilled about this one here. We are partnering with the nonprofit JED Foundation on a 4-year evidence-based program designed to cultivate a campus community that fosters emotional wellness and ensures a comprehensive systems, programs, policies, and supports are in place to promote student mental health and emotional well-being and to create positive systemic change in the campus community. This is an initiative that impacts students for sure, but also faculty and staff. This initiative is also a Higher Learning Commission quality initiative, which is required for our Open Pathways accreditation once every 10 years. Dr. Pam Bacon, Associate Provost and Dean of the Faculty, is leading this initiative. She recently submitted our QI proposal to HLC, and they approved it. We're well on our way. Diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice. This year we launched the first CSB-SJU Joint Strategic Plan for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Justice. This plan is an important part of our institutional strategic direction and sets a course forward in several areas. Building on our long history of success in this work, we're going to continue to focus on campus climate and education, professional development, and our relationship with the broader community. This critical body of work is being led by Sandra Mitchell, Senior Diversity Officer, with guidance from the Faculty and Staff Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Justice Advisory Committee. We have several working groups who are working to define and develop visions and plans for what might be centers of excellence, including those listed here: the Institute for Humanities, led by Jason Shaluti; the Center for the Environment, of course, led by Derek Larson; the Center for Wellness and Health, led by Manny Campos and Carrie Braun; Center for Principal Business Leadership, led by Jeff Korsmo; and of course our Teaching and Learning Center, led by Laura Taylor. These are all important ways of expressing depth and breadth and impact for our curriculum, finding ways of partnering and innovating and helping us raise resources for the institutions. Another pivotal initiative that I'm extremely excited about is aimed at enhancing the quality, vibrancy, and impact of our student experience, and to make sure that we're developing an increasingly more sophisticated, comprehensive, and compelling residential student experience. The team, led by Mary Geller, has been reviewing core mission documents and institutional learning outcomes because this co-curricular model will be centered in our learning goals and the Benedictine values and practices we so love and care for. A breakout session will be offered this afternoon examining the gendered aspects of our institutions as it relates to building the residential curriculum. With unified leadership across the institutions, the era of strong integration continues. One area we're working on hard is on building an innovative model for sharing operational resources. Last year, we launched the first ever mutual budget process between St. Ben's and St. John's. This year, we're focused on achieving operational efficiencies, which will include our goal to optimize our financial position. Our operational plan was recently endorsed by Moody's, affirming both institutions while they noted strong integration for both institutions as a compelling factor in our stable future. During the fiscal year, we will press forward with a further study and efforts and new steps toward integration of other key operational areas: campus dining, catering and events, safety and security, emergency planning, and grounds and custodial. This is an enormous undertaking, and I'm grateful for all the leadership that's being shown by Kara and her team to make this possible. And as you know from my announcement last spring, we continue to create a structure to integrate our institutional advancement efforts, and we are confident in strong integration as it continues to be one of our bold strategies we are embracing to firmly position us for a vibrant future. And of course, Rob and Heather are instrumental in advancing the institutional advancement work. This entire body of work around strong integration continues to be a national model with really tremendous opportunity for us. Telling our story, one of our very critical strategic plan initiatives, is well underway. We're close to finishing a multi-year study to fully understand the condition of and the possibility for the CSB SJU brand, a process done in the broader context of institutional positioning. The results of the study will help us bolster our branding and marketing, reach a wider pool of prospective students, and more effectively share our more than 100-year-old rich liberal arts tradition of educating women and men in the Catholic and Benedictine context. The Marcon team is now focused on how we strategically move this work forward with refreshed and imagined branding and marketing, included and gradually being rolled out as part of that work is a redesigned website, refreshed color palettes, enhanced typography, and a brand toolkit. After thoughtful consideration and extensive research, we will incorporate the hexagon into our new logo design, and our new mark will feature a cross, a powerful symbol of our faith and heritage. The combination of the hexagon and the Benedictine cross will create a visual identity that is both modern and deeply rooted in our traditions. Stay tuned for logo designs coming this year. And if this is a topic that you want to know more about, attend one of the concurrent sessions with Betsy Kershaw and our Marcom experts today. The employee experience. Our greatest resource for St. Ben's and St. John's is our faculty and staff, you. Our strategic plan asks an important question: how to best engage and care for employee well-being and create a fulfilling, best-in-class employee experience. We're making great progress on this front. We have secured an external firm to assist in a complete compensation and benefit review. We are also renewing our focus on employee communication. A new employee portal has been launched to improve information sharing and engagement opportunities. We remain committed to substantive investments in you. You are valued, and we want to ensure all initiatives and priorities have your welfare at the forefront. Chantel Bregelman and Casey Gordon are leading this initiative. It's my understanding that this is a presidential election year. Is that correct? Okay. This fall, as you all know, is shaping up to be complex, and it's essential we ask ourselves at this point in time some key questions. What can we each do to be models for our students? Educating them about the importance of pluralism. How can we help our community navigate the semester in meaningful and healthy ways? Ways that do not reflect the vitriol and rancor we see in so much of the national conversation. Author and interfaith leader Eboo Patel, in his book, We Need to Build, reminds us that American colleges are models for diverse democracy. We help our students practice strengthening and affirming their identities while encouraging the building of bridges across and between and among groups. In that spirit and our great tradition of doing this work, we are committed to helping our students understand their civic responsibility by learning about key issues and participating in the political process. Voting. The McCarthy Center, in its rich tradition, is working on a variety of Get Out the Vote and voter education initiatives. We're also launching a comprehensive Disagreeing Better initiative. Disagreeing Better at St. Ben's and St. John's is a dialogue-rich, relationship-building partnership between our entire St. Ben's and St. John's community and Minnesota's Reduce the Rancor initiative, an offspring of the national nonpartisan nonprofit Braver Angels dedicated to political depolarization. The initiative is aligned with Benedictine practices and values, including stating our views freely and fully, without fear, treating people who disagree with us with honesty, dignity, and respect, welcoming opportunities to engage those with whom we disagree, looking for common ground where it exists, and if possible, find ways to work together, learning to practice intense empathy and empathic listening in all encounters, forging greater understanding of our neighbors, colleagues, peers, and family members. This is work for all of us. The week of September 16th to the 19th is a kickoff week for Disagreeing Better at St. Ben's, St. John's. There will be Disagreeing Better skills workshops, a documentary viewing, the first ever Johnny, Benny, Tommy student debate, and the keynote event. Ooh, there's some humming there. It's not a competition, but if it were, we're going to win. Correct? Okay. But we're going to do it collaboratively. With the McCarthy Lecture Series, we'll also feature author and professor John Inazu in collaboration with the Theater for Public Policy Improv Comedy Group. So much to participate in, so much to do to help our students and us move forward. So watch your email at myCSB for more events, CSBSJU for more events and information about Disagreeing Better. Stay tuned for more, get involved, and let's strengthen our long legacy of doing this work. With every election cycle on the horizon, with this election cycle on the horizon, we're entering a period of heightened activity and intensifying political discourse. As these external dynamics unfold, and as we continue to navigate the challenges facing higher education, it's important to be clear about what will guide our collective work beyond the guidance we get from our missions and our vision. So what is guiding my thinking on how we are approaching our collective challenges and the persistent disruption? Harvard scholar Ronald Heifetz offers a framework for navigating change through adaptive leadership. He distinguishes between technical problems, which can be solved with existing knowledge, and adaptive problems, which are complex and systemic, requiring new knowledge and new approaches. Adaptive leadership involves taking a step back, moving up to the balcony to gain broader perspective and identifying patterns within our systems. The approach emphasizes reducing stress, prioritizing compassion, and modeling empathy and reflection. This style of leadership This way of being together as we proceed helps us with difficult change, encourages innovation and risk-taking within a supportive community. And so I invite us, as we do the hard work of responding to the pressures and the disruptions we are facing, to consider a few ideas about how we can all lead. Embrace the Benedictine practice of stabilitas. Sister Joan Chittister's definition of Benedictine stability is one I reflect on often. She says Benedictine stability is the willingness to continue to grow where we are, to grow in place. Stability is a promise to meet life head on, dealing directly with centeredness, commitment, and relationships. This, she says, is the ground of conversion, the willingness to be changed. Help guide students and learn and understand the importance of pluralism, about key policy issues, practicing listening for understanding, and to engage in the essential civic responsibility to vote. Third, seek ways to lead and support each other as we face the challenges confronting higher education. Work to support each other through adaptive leadership as we encounter stress and uncertainty. Might we all show human compassion, prioritize and model listening and empathy, offer relationship-rich experiences and leadership as we help students learn and nurture each other in our collective work. Model the Benedictine practice and value of taking counsel. It's a beautiful example of adaptive leadership. It's encouraging, it supports risk-taking, innovation, and even failure. Done with humility, done in community. Attend to the people in our midst. Our most important responsibility. Attending to this means actively listening to one another, being present in our interactions, and offering support when it's most needed. Seeing the humanity in each person we encounter, students, colleagues, and community members alike. It means being attentive to the small moments, the quiet conversations, and the unspoken needs. By doing so, these things that I think come quite naturally to this community, we not only strengthen the bonds within our community, but we're also creating an environment where everyone feels valued, supported, and empowered. We all want the same thing, to be seen, to feel valued, to be valued. Last May, the Sunday after graduation, I was in my home office at Renner House, wrapping up some work as I prepared for what I know was a much anticipated, much needed 3-day walleye fishing trip to Ely. Carol and George were gone. The doorbell rang, and there stood 2 newly minted Benny graduates holding the steamer that Carol had loaned just a few days prior so they could attend to the wrinkles in their graduation regalia. They were cleaning out their apartment, they said, checking off final items on their to-do list, including return First Lady's steamer. They were just hours away from leaving their beloved CSB, now their alma mater. And there they were, standing at the door of our home after walking with this 5-foot steamer contraption across St. Ben's soccer field in the blazing hot sun. I offered them a glass of water and an ice cream bar. They had a time crunch, so our conversation and encounter was brief. As we stood there, blocking the sun from our eyes while reflecting on the glorious commencement weekend, my eye caught the St. Ben's St. John's flag flying on the flagpole in our front yard. I was horrified. The flag was faded and tattered. The academic year had been exhausting for the flag, too. I asked the newly minted alums if they'd help me lower the flag. As we did, these 2 talkative, high-energy bennies, renowned for their strong voices, on our campuses suddenly became very quiet. As I unhooked the flag from the rope, their tears flowed. Their love of St. Ben's and St. John's was steaming out of their eyes. The reality sinking in. They were about to leave campus, now as alumni, leaving, having changed, leaving, ready for what was next. They remained speechless as I offered them the tattered flag as a memento. It was one heck of a sight watching these two Bennies walking arm in arm back to Centennial Commons across the field, CSB, SJU draped over their shoulders. A snappy new cap or a tattered flag. Simple moments of attending to the wonderful, complex students in our midst. So small, yet so important to these students. And so I leave you with the question, in what ways will you show up for our students this year? And just as importantly, in what ways will we, faculty and staff, show up for each other? I thank you all for all you have done and all you will do on behalf of these two amazing places, our two missions, our collective work, our hope-inspiring students, and you, the remarkable people that make these outcomes and these places so incredible. So let's make this a remarkable year. Thank you very much. Now, what's going to happen next, theoretically, is that I'm going to now take questions. That means you have to have questions. And we are on a schedule today, so at about 1:45, there's going to be my favorite color flashing behind me, or it's going to first just come on orange, then it's going to strobe. And when it strobes, that's when we all panic, you get up and leave to the concurrent sessions. The location for those concurrent sessions are listed on these pieces of paper. I'm told they're digitally expressed too, and if you can't find where you're going, someone will help you. So let me open the floor for questions as you have them, as you're waiting to raise your hand. I just notice again, we have one person sitting in the front pew. Congratulations. I thought this was a Catholic college university, but there's someone sitting in the front pew, so I have to rethink this now. Any questions? And as you have questions, I'd love you to introduce yourself by name and what part of these two institutions you are from, and then your question.
Anthony Ruff, Theology, School of Theology. Brian, do we have any sense yet of how our enrollment compares with our peer liberal arts colleges in the state?
That's a great question. It's too early to tell for sure, and let me just say a little bit about why. Right now, what we have visibility to is deposit data. Right now, Minnesota Private College as a group is up between 3 and 5%. We are not. But I want to offer two things to think about, and we're going to do, when the census comes to bear, we're going to do a full review and profile, and we'll share that with you after census. But this has been, I think, the most challenging enrollment cycle, worse than 2020 and COVID, for a couple reasons. One, we had anybody hear about the FAFSA debacle? Did anybody, I'm not sure how many people were paying attention to the fact that in the third week of July, we also got word that the Minnesota State grant got rationed as it was under budget by just over $40 million. Just to give you a sense of perspective, first of all, the fact that we find out in July is perhaps in the category of immoral, but I don't want to get too editorial about this, but as a total for our student body, that would a dollar for dollar exchange on that would have been a $1.5 million impact for St. Ben's and St. John's. So understand the significance of what we're talking about. As relates to our strategy on price and student financial aid, we made some really strategic decisions about how to best leverage that for our intended outcomes. What I'm going to be very interested to see as I met with private college presidents the week before last, several of them were sharing very significant concern for the transition in the last month of the enrollment cycle on what will happen with deposit data to enroll data. Not all schools have as much insight into their students in terms of their probability of coming back for upper class students. Those campuses that have a 4-year residency requirement typically have more insight through housing data. So it's going to be interesting to see, Anthony, how things play out in terms of actual enrolled students. We've seen some, in the last 6 weeks, some loss that I would describe from my own experience as not typical with 4th and 5th year students, even though that first year retention rate was, we should celebrate, was over 87%. We saw some loss, and we also saw some unbelievable number of active applications late in the cycle that we thought, given the late FAFSA and the fact that the University of Minnesota was not packaging aid until August, might materialize for us. With those things in the marketplace, we're going to have to pay attention to 2 things. What ended up being the head count? The numbers I gave you are enrolled students, not deposits. And the second thing is the per student net tuition revenue. I'm really pleased to say that the admissions and financial aid teams did a fabulous job this year leveraging financial aid. So our per student net tuition revenue for the new class looks above what we had expected. That, we might be an outlier on that when it comes to strategy and how people responded to the Minnesota State Grant and the FAFSA challenges. So that's a couple pieces of insight into answering that question. We'll know after a census, and we'll be sure be pleased to share more of that. The other big driver for our performance compared to other schools, you've been hearing me talk about this now for probably longer than you care to hear, but we're going to keep at it. We are still not where we want to be with the generation of the quality of the top of our funnel. And by quality, I'm really talking at this point about volume. For those schools that had a healthier top of funnel for the last 3 or 4 years, they were able to do some things in this enrollment cycle that those of us that did not were not able to do. So the work that Kara and the admissions team, along with the Ed's new leadership, will be focusing on is how do we get that top of funnel, those inquiries and applications growing so that when our yield stays at 23, 25, 27, 28%, whatever it ends up being, that we're actually pulling off a bigger end. So until we get that part of the funnel healthier and with more volume, it's going to be an exercise of getting to 375 to 380. As we grow that application number, we will see those numbers grow. So the point is saying that for those Minnesota private colleges that did better than last year, they had a healthier top of funnel as well. Great question. In the way back, can barely see you. You raise your hand. All I see is a hand because you're wearing a black outfit or dark outfit.
Hi, I'm Jessica Harkins in the English department. So President Bruess, I was wondering if you would feel comfortable sharing any details about your strategic vision with regards to academics and academic programming, what, in the conversations that you've been having, really you see as places that we can grow, build on, what we might be moving away from or toward. Any details you might feel comfortable sharing?
I want to share just a couple of thoughts, and while I'm doing that, first of all, I'll come back to the slide. This is about the sessions that are following. As I'm making a couple comments, I'm just going to put these mission statements up for you to read through. These are the approved mission statements for St. Ben's and St. John's. You've seen them. They're not new. These are approved, and I want to put these up. These are the vision statements that go along with them. I'll offer a couple things. I don't know about moving away. I think we're really at a juncture where we're working, I think, really hard to make sure that what we're doing is relevant and how we communicate that it's relevant. One piece of the strategic plan I did not mention that I think ties to how we think about the future and how we position ourselves is some work that a work group is doing around, it's in partnership with Art and Science, a nationally recognized consulting group that's helping us with positioning and helping us think about how we communicate and how we think about the future and what foresight there is about where we're going. This project is really important to us so that we have a regular, data-rich, evidence-based engine to drive foresight and insight and how to think about the future and what the world is needing from us. So I just want to mention that as a really important work that faculty and staff are working on right now. Those reports are going to be coming forward in the next some number of weeks here this fall. I also want to say, by way of our vision for where we're going, many of the most cherished outcomes that we have, that this faculty, this staff, these institutions have been producing for years, has about half of those outcomes competing with the top 50 liberal arts colleges in the country. And right now, we're ranked in the 70s or so nationally in the liberal arts category, but yet half of our most precious outcomes are competing with the top 50. So broadly thinking, I'm not a big fan of the rankings per se, but I really do admire the outcomes that are produced by the top 50 liberal arts colleges. So I think we have to continue, as we think about the future and academic programs and where our investment is, we have to keep thinking, as the faculty are, about outcomes and how we position our programs to move more of those precious outcomes into the top 50. The other thing that I'll say that is kind of table stakes, but I want to say it because it's really important. The faculty, as a body, have two essential purposes. One is to recruit, develop, and retain our faculty. And the second is the curriculum. My role in answering the question of academic vision is to help create conditions for us to pursue that next generation of what our academic enterprise looks like. And so I see myself as a catalyst, helping to create conditions to support the academic administrators and the faculty in doing this work. And it is, at the center of who we are, educating students in these ways. And so as we do this work, you're going to hear from me ideas and ways in which we can create conditions for the vision and the work of our faculty. I'll close by saying that the centers and the institutes that we're exploring is also a way to help think about how we position the curriculum and how we think about new program development and how we work in partnership with faculty and faculty governance. So those are just some quick thoughts as it relates to academic next steps and what the focus is. It's really not moving away from, it's making sure that what we're doing remains relevant and investing in it so it can continue to evolve as the academic leadership and the faculty see that happening.
Sorry to ask a quick follow-up. You've mentioned relevance at the beginning and the end, and the most important thing is that what we do is relevant. Can you please define relevant in terms of academic vision? Thank you.
Say that last part.
What do you mean by relevant?
What I mean by relevant is, are we producing the outcomes that we purport to present? And does the public in which we're engaging, recruiting, have we done a good job communicating that to them so that they desire and want what we're doing? The orange lights are on. It's 1:47. I might have time for one more question, but I'm going to get in trouble from Nancy if I do that. So is there one more question? No? Thank you again for all you're doing and for all you will do this year. Have a great year. Thank you.